Manager, Kelby Wallace. Hi, Kelby.
Good afternoon, Bart. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. The roads, with this weather, it's got to be challenging to keep them safe.
Yeah. So especially the last 3 days, you've had temperatures plus or minus 0 degrees. Salt really doesn't work like it should. It will freeze down to about. It will thaw, ice and snow down to about -5. But once it's that cold, it freezes back up pretty quickly. So some of the main roads you'll see get clear because they have enough traffic to kind of dry that recently thawed ice and snow out, and it evaporates. But on some of the lesser traveled roads, the county roads, the gravel roads, that just doesn't happen. So you just can't salt those like you can the main roads. So I know some of the county struggles to get those side road cleans till it warms up like it is kind of later today and tomorrow and over the weekend. That should happen. But our main roads are in pretty good shape in Jackson, but it's been a struggle. Had a lot of snow squalls too that just kind of pop up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Is there an alternate to use besides the salt that is more effective below freezing? Or below zero?
So another product, so salt is sodium chloride. There's a product, calcium chloride, that sometimes can be used. The thing we struggle with at the Department of Transportation, it's about 4 to 5 times more expensive.
Ooh.
So we have that in stock, but we have a much smaller volume. So we really need to save that if we run into a really bad storm that has really low temperatures. So there are products, magnesium chloride too is another one that we use on some of our big bridges like the Mackinac Bridge that doesn't have the corrosion capabilities that sodium chloride does. But sodium chloride is very plentiful and inexpensive to help us keep our budget intact.
Do we use sand anymore?
At times, so some of the more rural areas tend to use sand or maybe mix sand with some salt. In some of the urban areas, sand kind of presents a challenge, and now ends up filling all the curbs and gutters full of sand after it's kind of knocked off the road by traffic. That then clogs those drains. You have flooding. You have to do a lot of cleanup in the spring. So generally, maybe in some rural areas that don't have those underground storm systems that would use sand.
Yeah, it does leave a mess. And the white, that's going to wash away, right? It's
Yes.
just, yeah.
That just is the remnants of that salt, sodium chloride that's on the road that dries up, and then we get another snow. Then it'll kind of wash off when we plow it off, or when you get a little rain, it'll be gone. So.
Well, with this weather, people might be surprised to see that you are working on construction projects, including one right here in downtown Jackson. The Cooper Street and the Glick bridges are both on your construction schedule for replacement.
Yeah, so our first bridge is the Cooper Street Bridge. So this is actually a picture of many years ago when the Grand River right there was actually inside that box that goes under that bridge. So as a precaution for safety and my understanding was smell of the river back in the day.
The smell was so bad.
They put that inside a concrete box that's probably 12 by 12 right there. So you see that right there in that picture, and that I don't even have a date on this. After that, it was decided they were going to uncover the river. So here's another picture of that river. You can kind of see where the contractor's removing the top of that concrete box to kind of re-expose the river there. And you can see the bridge in the background. And so now this is kind of the picture of the bridge that we're replacing. So on the left there, if you can see under the opening, you can see where that little box is kind of inside there, and we're going to be removing that as part of our bridge project. So just a little history of the Grand River through town and the bridges that we're dealing with. This is the Cooper Street Bridge. It's just south of the train station and the railroad tracks right down there in downtown Jackson.
So there's 2 arches in this bridge. One probably doesn't get any water. One of the arches is overflow.
Correct. So in the springtime, that will get water,
Oh.
right? So that's kind of an overflow. This river has a big drainage area that contributes to it, that all drains to it. So actually in the spring, both of those sides will have some water into it. So our new bridge won't have that, what we call a center pier in the middle of it. It'll just be a big wide open span to help have more drainage area in the future.
So there won't be, because you're taking the concrete out, it's just going to be kind of free flowing under the bridge.
Yes.
There are banks too where that concrete had the river, they narrowed in order to concrete cap it. Long, wide banks in certain areas, like along Consumers Energy.
Yeah.
Those will stay, right?
Away from our bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, my understanding, there was some contamination of some of that soil. And so they actually put that concrete on the banks so that when the river did rise, it didn't wash that contamination,
Oh, how about
you
that?
know, down to a more non-contaminated area. You try to isolate the contamination and keep it from spreading. So under that, so we're trying to minimize our contamination, and that's one of the things that we're doing right now. We're actually testing some of the soil after we've removed the pavement near the bridge to figure out how we can deal with the contamination that's in some of that soil.
All right, another picture here. You'll have to explain this.
Yeah, so we've started to expose the water main downtown there. The picture's kind of taken out of an angle, but we put a box around this and put in some sheeting, we call it, around there to keep the dirt from falling in on top of it, and we can kind of expose that. This is part of the 20-inch water main that we have to temporarily reroute around the bridge because right now the water main runs through the old bridge. So we have to temporarily put a water main away from the bridge to keep water serving the city of Jackson. Once we make that new water main connection, then we can tear out the old water main and the old bridge. So that's kind of the first stages of the project. Here's some of the pipe that we'll be using on the project to handle some of the storm water on the project and some of the manholes there on the right.
Wow, so it's just not the bridge. I mean, it looks like there's a lot.
Yeah, so we're rebuilding the roadway down from about Washington Avenue up to approximately the train tracks up there.
In this weather, you guys are out there working?
So right now, mostly we've got some of the utility work going on because we've also have Consumers gas main that's in the way and some fiber optic lines and copper lines for Comcast. So those are getting moved out of the way right now. And then we've kind of have our contractor. They didn't do any water main installation Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday just because it was so cold, and they anticipate kind of starting that on this next Monday. And that gave the utilities another week to get out of the way.
Will all those utilities then go back into the bridge?
Some of them. The water main is going to go back into the bridge. The other ones either went aerial overhead, or they actually, because they're smaller, they actually drill underneath the river and come back. So they've kind of actually put them in a different spot underneath the river and not through the bridge.
We've already seen the detours. People have gotten used to that. Are those going to pretty much be the way they are for the duration now?
Pretty much till about end of October.
That's not bad. I mean, there's easy ways around.
Right. No, and that's kind of what we thought is, Washington used to be the old state highway anyways, right? When we had one-way directional roadways, so the roadway was kind of built to handle that kind of traffic. There may be some surface repairs that we may need to do, but we knew Washington was a very viable detour that had traffic signals at each end to help get traffic moving in the right direction.
All right, it's underway. Stand by. 2 years total between the two bridges, right?
Yep, so only Cooper Street this year, Lewis Glick in 2026.
Well, keep doing stuff in Jackson. We like having you here, Kelby.
Appreciate it.
From the Michigan Department of Transportation, Jackson TSC Manager, Kelby Wallace.